Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. I hope everybody's doing well. I knew from the second I saw Grace's video that I had to do a VR to it because all of the questions that were asked in that video are exactly the kind of questions that I like to think about and talk about on my channel. I like to go very in depth with my tarot without showing a ton of different decks. You know, I've got my tried and true, my trusted Herb Crafter's Tarot, and that's really all I need. We have a cat shadow, as usual, and this video is not going to be one that is very showy. So if you just want to put me on in the background as like a podcast, that's totally fine. There's nothing that you guys haven't seen already in this video. It's just going to be me either playing with the Herb Crafter's Tarot, a little cat getting in the way, or just sitting with some cards. So let's get into the questions right now. This is a VR to Grace at Mary Grace Farron's 13 tarot questions. So the first question is, what is tarot to you? And honestly, I think that this was the question that I kind of struggled with the most when I was thinking about a response, because I really don't know exactly what tarot is to me. I think that it's a very important part of my spirituality. It helps me to connect with myself, but also I think that I could do that for me personally. I could connect with myself very easily just through journaling. I think that tarot brings a new perspective to me. It is an outside perspective. Tarot is almost like a friend for me. I can turn to tarot when I am feeling conflicted about something or just unsure and need a little bit of advice or guidance, but don't really want to talk through anything with anybody. For me, I really don't know. I think that people always say that tarot is a tool and that the cards are just cards and that they're just tools. But I don't think that I'm in that belief group. I think that tarot each deck is an individual. I do personify my decks. I think that it's not even personifying. I think that the decks really do have their own way of thinking and speaking and the messages that they bring. But there is something, in my opinion, where tarot, each deck is its own, but there's this collective and like universal tarot also. So if you're switching decks around, you can get the same message and the same cards from different decks because that's what you need to be hearing right now. And you might not have listened when you used the first deck, but with this second deck you're using, you get the same message to really hammer it home and say, like, this is what you should be listening to. Listen to us when we're talking to you. I think it's kind of like the collective unconscious. I think that's what people say. I think that there's something like that for tarot also. Although each deck can have its own personality, the messages that you can get from it sometimes come from that collective tarot conscious. I don't know that I answered that question at all, but tarot is such a mystery. It's a mysterious thing for me, and it's hard for me to define, and I think that I will spend my whole life figuring out what the tarot is to me and what it means. And I think that it's going to change and evolve as my practice changes and as I grow and my experience in life changes. So that's what tarot is to me. The second question is, do you read for yourself or for others? And I mainly read for myself. I really didn't start reading for others until earlier this year, and I am enjoying that. but my primary use for tarot is definitely for myself. I don't know, the opportunity doesn't arise very often for me to read for others, but also I like connecting with my decks. I feel most connected to the tarot in general and to my deck when I'm using it for myself. And I also feel like there's so much that I can get out of it when reading for myself, although I have really started to love reading for others because it's exhilarating and exciting to be able to share the magic that I feel with tarot with other people through readings. The next question is, with what frequency do you read tarot for yourself? And, it definitely waxes and wanes. And when I am really in the tarot groove, I will read for myself every day, and I definitely will just pull my cards out and shuffle just to play with them even more. So that's multiple times a day. I will even just hold my deck and shuffle for comfort. Without even a question in mind, and usually at those times I will get cards that jump out, and I take it as kind of having a little conversation with tarot. I think that it's fun, and going to my deck without having a question in mind sometimes just allows for that connection and communication. When I go through a tarot slump, I think the longest I've gone without really having meaningful readings for myself has been probably a month or a month and a half. Ever since I started learning tarot, I have always felt drawn to it. And even when I don't read for myself, if I'm having that kind of tarot slump, I will still bring my deck with me or hold it and just kind of feel that connection, even if I'm not feeling drawn to really getting questions answered. The fourth question is, what types of readings do you do? My main readings that I do for myself or just in general are for sure the Celtic Cross. I use that every month for my monthly readings. I also have done the 5-card spread, the 5 W's, the questions from my last video. I use that pretty frequently. There's another spread that I use. It's a 3-card spread just for the daily draw. And more frequently now, I have just been doing 1 card. And I shuffle the deck with no real question in mind, and I pull a card for the day, and then I just kind of carry that energy with me and kind of see what the message is at the end of the day. So when I'm doing readings for myself, I like to have set positions in the spread that mean certain things because I need a little bit of structure when it comes to reading for myself. It is hard for me to just ask a question and pull a random amount of cards and then get a message from that. I like to have, especially with the Celtic Cross, I like to have it all big and built out. And while there are those set positions and every card has a meaning for that, I also will look at the reading as a whole and just kind of read the way that the cards are lined out, and it forms different conversations for me there. But the structure of it also will help if I'm feeling confused or lost on specific positions or a specific card is causing me some trouble. I can see what it means in that position for the spread. Number 5 is regarding what types of things do you typically consult the tarot? And I really read for whatever's happening in my life that I am needing guidance or clarity on is what I will read for. I don't really read for my relationship with my significant other, that's just never been something that I want to know about or want to dig deeply into, because I would much rather have it be a partnership and a communication between me and that person, me and my significant other, instead of turning to the tarot for clarity and guidance. I should be turning to that person. And that's how I view just that relationship. That's really the only relationship that I don't read for. I will not pull cards about or ask on. Other than that, I've done readings lately about friendships and ending of some friendships and kind of just finding clarity and what should I do about this. I also have lately been pulling cards for career advice and just finding guidance on how to solidify the path that I'm on and how I can really bring what I'm thinking about and planning in my head into reality. I will do readings about pretty much anything. Lately, it's just been daily draws, but I also have a lot of different topics. I like to pull cards when I'm traveling to see kind of how that travel is going to go and ask as like a little temperature gauge to see how the travel is going to go, if there's anything that I should be aware of or anything that I need to make sure that I do or don't do just in case. But typically it's whatever's on my heart and on my mind is what I read tarot about. I don't come to tarot, and I probably should come to tarot when I'm feeling at ease and use tarot as a tool for gratitude, but that's not really something that I do yet. And I think that maybe that's something that I will start incorporating. But typically for me, whatever is bothering me or making me nervous or stressed or worried is definitely something that I will bring to the cards and ask for clarity on. The next question is, how would you classify yourself as a reader? I'm definitely an experiential reader. I will use tarot throughout the day, and then certain things will happen that I draw back to the card and connect with that card, and then that adds to my meanings of the cards. I also read numerologically and elementally. That is how I read the tarot. I don't use the Rider-Waite-Smith meanings. That's not how I interpret the cards because that's not how I learned them. I learned on Thoth. So having those fixed meanings when it comes to Rider-Waite-Smith is not how I read. I also gain little messages through the cards when I pull cards and am doing a reading. Sometimes there are things that I just feel in my heart or in my head that the card is trying to say, and it might not even be what the card is about, but that's kind of what my mind goes to when I see the imagery. So especially for this one, this is a card that has a lot of different meanings for me because of the imagery. Like the acorns, I think of as the potential and seeing what can grow from such a small seed to this huge tree. I also associate this card, specifically in this deck, with ancestors. It just feels like an ancestor card for me. And yeah, I use the imagery of the deck and the just meanings that I've come up with throughout reading different books, and I am a magpie reader. That's how I would classify myself. I'm a magpie reader because there are little bits of tarot that I glean from watching other people and their interpretations on the readings, and from doing bibliomancy in the guidebook sometimes, and my meanings that I've come up with experientially. There are just lots of different ways that I read, and it's because of all of the different little things that I come up with or that I've collected over the years of just being in the world of tarot. And I really don't read tarot books. I have finished one tarot book in my whole life, and honestly, I can't even tell you what it was about. But little things that feel important to me that I hear about tarot or that just ring true in my heart or my mind when I hear it are things that I will collect and keep for when I'm reading and interpreting the cards. Number 7 is, what types of questions do you ask the tarot? And I think that I've answered this a little bit. I accidentally answered this in question number 5, but I will ask pretty much anything. Sorry if there's a lot of background noise. There's a lot going on today, I guess. Lots of trucks and stuff. But anyways, I ask the questions that I can't answer myself. So lots of questions I ask are about, why am I feeling this way? What can I do to change the situation I'm in? What is going on in this situation, to get kind of a either objective or a clearer view of what the situation is that I'm struggling with. Typically, the questions that I ask are pretty open-ended. I like leaving a lot of room for the tarot to just answer the question that it feels I need answered sometimes. Because like Grace said, you can ask tarot a question, but that doesn't mean that it's going to answer that question. And it's going to answer the question that you need most answered, not the question that you sometimes ask. And that's okay. And I think that that's important. And that shows that tarot, in my opinion, is not just a stack of cards. There's more to tarot and any cards in general than just the ink and the paper that they're printed on. Hi everybody, Editing Rose here. I just wanted to pop in and give another example of the way that I use tarot. I just used my cards to tell me which color glasses I should get. I was choosing between yellow, pink, or blue, and clearly the cards have spoken. One card off and I would have had yellow, but blue glasses it is. The next question is, what types of questions do you never ask tarot? And I definitely don't ask tarot about my relationship. I just don't feel comfortable reading cards based on that. I think that my relationship is a very intimate one, and one that has been going on for so long that I feel more comfortable asking my significant other the question that I would ask tarot than asking the cards. Because I feel like, for me, in my relationship, it feels like an invasion of privacy reading cards about my relationship. I would much rather have my significant other speak to me and have it be a conversation instead of risk the potential of jumping to conclusions and have miscommunication because of tarot. I also just want to trust in my relationship enough. I think that I turn to tarot when I'm feeling doubtful about things, and I don't ever want to doubt my relationship, and I don't want to question it. So instead, I will turn to the relationship for that instead. There's just no question that I would ask tarot that I can't ask my significant other. So I would much rather do that and just be direct about it than risk the miscommunication that tarot could bring up for me in my relationship. Other than that, I mean, I ask about other relationships, like I said. Like Grace said, I don't really read about death. It's not something that I want to. It's not something that I ever feel called to ask about. I think that it would just cause me more stress and anxiety to ask about anybody's death than just letting it be one of those mysteries that is in life. I think those are the only questions that I don't ask for myself because I just don't feel the need. Number 9 is, who do you think you're engaging with or speaking with when you read the tarot? And I really don't know. I'm not sure who it is. I am not sure that I'm comfortable with the idea of it being a single spirit, like some people believe. I think that it is maybe a conglomerate of spirit guides and ancestors and anyone who's guiding. When I ask about questions like that, I think that it's them. When I ask for clarity, it's definitely them. They use tarot as the means to communicate with me. I also think that tarot does have its own spirit, especially the decks have their own energy and personality. So sometimes I am just talking directly to the deck, and I will ask my deck questions. I'll ask how my deck is feeling, what it's thinking about, what it feels about our relationship, what we can change and grow. Sometimes I will just be thinking and shuffling along, and my deck throws out cards, and I just use that as a conversation. I will look at the card and respond to what I feel like it's saying, put the card back in, shuffle some more, and then more cards come out. And that's me talking to my deck. I don't think that I will ever have a definitive answer on who I feel I am engaging with when I use my deck, but it feels very spiritual and it feels very important to me. It's not just a deck of cards. I think that when you have a deck in your hand and how long you use it, the amount of times you use it, the energy that you put into it builds and grows the deck to become something more. It's more than the sum of all of its cards. I just don't know exactly what that sum is. But it is something important. It is something spiritual. It is something that I really respect. I'm just not sure what it is. Number 10 is, what other knowledge or experience do you apply to reading tarot? And I mentioned this a little bit earlier. I read numerologically, so my knowledge and the information that I have about numerology is something that I definitely bring to the cards. I also will bring bits of literature and just things from classes. So I was an English major in college. English has always been, and reading in books and analyzing books has always been something that's really been important to me in my life. So I will use those skills that I learned when also depicting and analyzing and reading, interpreting the cards, especially for the Wheel of Fortune. I had a teacher once, I think that we were talking about Shakespeare or maybe the ancient Greeks. There was something that we were talking about where somebody's belief, the population's belief at that time, was that you're on this wheel of life, and if you fight against the wheel and the turning of the wheel, you'll just end up breaking your neck because you're kind of sitting here. Let me find it. You're sitting on the wheel. Look at that. Exactly what I needed. So you are sitting on the wheel, and when you're on the outside of the wheel, and when you're at the top, you are in the air, you see everything, but as you find yourself going to the lower end and the bottom of the wheel, which is typically on the ground, you fight and try and go against it instead of leaning in and getting a little bit smaller and just accepting this is where you are on the wheel. When you fight against the wheel, you end up breaking your neck because you are trying to pull against something that you can't. It's just one of those things that is forever. Where was I going with this? Oh, so that's kind of something that I learned from school that I think about all the time, especially regarding this deck. Or not with this deck, with this card. So little things that I learned in school about mythology or just literature, the critical thinking that I learned from there, and analyzing symbolism and imagery is something that I bring to tarot, and numerology, my knowledge and understanding of the elements is definitely something that I bring and read with, especially because this deck is elementally, the suits are divided up elementally instead of cups, wands, swords, pentacles. So those are the kinds of things that I bring to tarot that wasn't originally from it. Number 11 is tarot is the book of life. Where else in your world or life do you witness tarot? And I think that similar to the last question, I see a lot of tarot in literature and media and the books that I read, in the shows that I watch. There are the archetypes of tarot. For example, in Robin Hobb, I think about the different characters and I kind of try and piece them into cards and see where they would fit in the tarot cards. For example, the Fool in Robin Hobb, although named the Fool, I would definitely view as more the High Priestess or the Hierophant, as this guiding energy and this mysterious knowing one who is aloof and confusing and doesn't always give clear answers, but always gives guidance and warnings and omens. So books, TV shows, just my life in general, sometimes I'll be thinking about a person and kind of think about what tarot card they embody for me or the energy that they've been embodying lately. Just also in my own life, what kind of energy I want to be embodying. I bring tarot with me through my whole life. The next question is, have you experienced where tarot has correctly predicted the future, and how did you feel when it came to pass? Yes. So I have definitely experienced tarot predicting the future. I just trust that it's something that happens. I always do a year ahead spread where I pull cards for each month, and a lot of the times they are very accurate, and that is something that I just trust and use as a guide instead of stressing out about the cards that I get. Because one of the months I got the I got the Tower last year, and again this year for December I got the Tower, and I don't take it as something that I should be worrying about or stressed out about. I more take it as something that I should be prepared for. It's like Grace said, taking the temperature of the month, and it's the energy that's going to just be prominent regardless of if I am aware of it or not, whether I pulled the cards about it or not. It's going to be there. And I just use the cards as a way to help me be prepared for that and navigate that when it comes. A specific situation where tarot has predicted the future for me is with the Tower. I was shuffling my deck outside and thinking about how I was going to go to a local bead store because I wanted to make a new mala for myself and just have a little bit of a spiritual self-care day. So I was shuffling my cards, just enjoying the sunshine for a little bit before I was going to get ready to go. And I pulled some cards like, what do I need to know about going to the store? What should I keep in mind? Or like I think I said, what should I keep in mind when going to the store? And the Tower showed up in that reading and kept flying out for me in my deck. And I was like, okay, like, so maybe I'll just change my mind on what beads I want to get, or like I'll get more than I'm expecting or something. I don't know. Something random and different's going to change what happens and what I end up buying. It turns out that that's not what the Tower was talking about. The Tower was saying there's going to be a pretty big change and you're not going to end up going to the store the way you thought or at all. When I went to start my car and go to the store, it was so loud and terrifying. And it turns out that someone had stolen my catalytic converter in my car. And that is what the Tower was talking about. So it predicts the future for me, but the interpretations that I have aren't always right. And when it does come to pass, then the message of the card and the warning or whatever the card was trying to tell me clicks. And I kind of wish that I could have that click before it happens, but just having tarot there to warn me a little bit that something was going to happen was better. And it's always something that's so fun for me when tarot does predict the future. I laugh. Even if it is something crazy like that, like my car, I just think it's so fun. And it really is magic. Like tarot isn't just some cards. It's magic. And it predicting the future like that just proves it in my eyes and in my opinion. It proves that tarot is so much more than just some cards. Okay, the last question is, if you're a witch or a magical practitioner person, how does tarot fit into your practice? So tarot is a really big part of my life, and I use it all the time, every day. Some of the very first spells that I ever did were actually ones with tarot cards. I use tarot in my spell work. I use tarot as affirmations. I use tarot to help me manifest. I will pull cards specifically. I will go through my deck and find cards that I want to embody the energy of, and I will carry them with me as talismans. I will carry them with me as reminders of my power. I will put them throughout my house so that I always have that reminder and that energy. I use tarot to help manifest what I want to bring into the world. And the spells that I did from the beginning have used tarot to show my intention and show what I want from whatever it is I'm doing and creating. So yeah, tarot is a really big part of my witchy practice as well as just being a thing for me. I use tarot to communicate with my ancestors. I use it to get wisdom from my spirit guides on what I should be doing. I use it for all sorts of things. And sometimes I just use the cards, like I said, as reminders of things. I don't even use them in readings and stuff. So that's it. I have been talking for a little while, but I just wanted to thank Grace for making this tag. I really love it. This is the kind of stuff that I really like to talk about when it comes to tarot. I like to go deeper than just showing decks that I'm loving and using. So thank you, Grace, for making this tag. I hope you all are doing well, and I hope that you got through to the end of this. If you haven't looked and want to, there's a little cat cleaning herself right now. She decided that this was the perfect place to have a bath. So that is what I'm going to leave you off on. I hope you're all doing well, and I will see you all later in the next one.